Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all to our e-message church today. You will not believe this, Julia, cried Tony, the church mouse. But there is a monster roaming the church grounds. A huge ball of ginger fur with whiskers as long as Loch Lomond. The ground shakes underneath as each giant paw comes crashing down, and woe betide anything that gets in its way. It will be crushed to death or torn limb from limb. Oh, Tony, I soothed, that is just the shop's cat. She's called Molly. She's old, a little overweight, and wouldn't hurt a fly. It's okay for you to say that, Julia. These perky monsters, or cats, as you call them, have hunted us down for years. I can tell you that this Molly you talk about is the meanest, nastiest, cruelest cat that has ever roamed the roads of Shapinsay. She teases us mice. She terrifies us mice. She petrifies the life out of us mice. Well, Tony, I said, maybe you should do something about it. What, Julia? Are you off your head? She would tear me from limb to limb. And Tony shivered all over his little body. I sat down on one of the pews and said, Tony, have you ever heard the story in the Bible about David and Goliath? David was just a wee shepherd boy, and Goliath was a colossal giant of a man, bigger, tougher, and crueler than any man had been before. He was so big and so strong that nobody was prepared to fight him. That is until the shepherd boy David said he would take him on. Everyone laughed at the idea, I continued. They said that David was no match for this giant. Yet nobody else had ever been brave enough to even try and defeat the giant. David said, give me a chance. And the king and his people humored him a bit. They dressed him up in armor, just like Goliath, but it weighed David down so much that he could not even walk. This will not work, said David. I know what I need to do. So he took all the armor off and took out his slingshot, which he used to defend his sheep from all sorts of wild animals and sheep stealers. He told his people, with God and my slingshot, I have everything I need. Tony squirmed as he sat staring at me. But Julia, will he be okay? Just listen, Tony, I said. Reluctantly, they let David go into battle. Nobody thought they would ever see David again. However, David was smart and kept moving quickly, and the big giant could only move slowly. David bobbed and weaved, and the giant got confused. David swung his slingshot around his head, and at just the right time he let his stone go. And it knocked the giant on his head, and he never got up, not even after the count to 10. Wow, Julia, that's a great story. But how will it help me to beat Molly? Asked Tony. I smiled. I'm glad you liked it, Tony. Here's the thing. You need to think of a better way. Instead of trying to fight Molly, you should make friends with her. Feed her a little each day. Talk from a distance each day. Offer to help her in any way you can and show her you love her and care for her. Become her friend, just like Jesus told us to do. Tony looked very uncomfortable. What if she doesn't want to be my friend and eats me anyway? Tony, you have got to try. We are never going to solve all the problems in our world by fighting. But by loving others, we might change the way people see us. Tony went away a little nervously. But over the next few weeks and months, he tried to put those ideas into practice. And amazingly, that little plan worked. Molly and Tony are now the best of friends, and they work together to keep the roads of Shapinsay safe. We're now going to join Sue for the craft.
Hello. Today we're going to be talking and thinking about an Old Testament story. The Old Testament many hundreds of years before Jesus was born. And the story is that of David and Goliath. Have you heard of them? You and Kirsty are going to be drawing Goliath. He was a giant, so you'll need a big piece of paper. He was anywhere between 7 foot and nearly 10 foot tall. So on the bits of paper that you've got, do you think you could start to draw just now a simple drawing of a man, just like Kirsty's done? You can see that there. What's he wearing, Kirsty?
Some nice pants.
Oh, well, you can just make it a very simple drawing. While you're doing that, I'll carry on and tell you a wee bit about the story. At the time that we're considering, Saul was the king of the Israelites, and David was a shepherd boy. Goliath was the champion of the people called the Philistines, who at that time were waging war against the Israelites. At the point in the story, there was a confrontation between the Philistines and the Israelites in the valley of Elah. For nearly 40 days, twice a day, morning and night, Goliath would come out the ranks of the Philistines and taunt the Israelites. He was trying to frighten and intimidate them, like a bully. He would call them cowards, say they were weak, and told them to send out their champion to fight him. But because he was so big and frightening, all the Israelites were scared of him. Then young David got to hear about this, and he went to King Saul and said that he would challenge Goliath. I told you that David was a shepherd boy. He was about 15 at the time. He had had to fend off lions and bears who were trying to attack his sheep, and he was very brave. But he also believed that God would look after him, and that God was on the Israelites' side. The Philistines had defied God. So off David went with only a slingshot and 5 stones. What do you think that Goliath looked like? Let's perhaps fill in some details and then we can draw them in. What do you think he might have been wearing? Well, he was a soldier, so do you think perhaps he was wearing armour? You've probably seen like suits of armour in medieval historical English stories, but it wouldn't have been like that, would it? But he might have had body armour covering the top part of him, and maybe a metal kind of skirt or a leather skirt. Would he have worn a helmet to protect him from arrows flying? And what about on his feet? What do you think he would have worn there? Perhaps shoes or sandals? Now, I want you to think about that and draw them in. Kirsty's going to be doing that too. In fact, I think she's started. What have we got here, Kirsty?
So far, we've got his helmet, and then I've given him a very angry face and a big nose, and then some long hair and a beard.
Okay. Well, you carry on drawing in what you think he was wearing, and all of you can start drawing in what you think that Goliath was wearing as well. Just carry on and take your time. You'll have coloured pens there We've only got a black one, I think, haven't we, Kirsty?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, colour them in and see what you think. Now, Kirsty said he had an angry look on his face. It doesn't look very pleasant right enough. But you do what you think David would have seen. I think Goliath would have looked frightening. How do you think David felt when he saw him? Well, he might have been nervous, but as Goliath came charging towards him, he took out a stone, put it in his slingshot, and let loose the stone, which hit Goliath on the forehead. Goliath fell to his knees and then flat out on the ground. And what do you think the other Philistines did? They all ran away. And that was the end with the Israelites as victorious. Now you can carry on drawing just now. Maybe you're nearly done. But I want you to start thinking while you draw, if you know anyone like Goliath, someone who tries to make you unhappy and maybe stops you doing things that you want to do. Obviously, I'm not talking about your parents or your teachers. They stop you doing things sometimes for your own health and happiness and safety. So not folk like that, but folk perhaps like Goliath. People who frighten you and don't have your best interests at heart. Now I think Kirsty's finished Goliath, have you, Kirst?
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a look there.
Couldn't hide his pants, but
He's got love hearts on his
skirt.
on his armour skirt. But he still looks frightening.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big belt he's got as well.
Mm-hmm. Sandals.
I love his sandals.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good, Kirsty. So you nearly finished your Goliaths. Then we can get back to thinking about these people who maybe frighten you, who scare you. Why don't you write their names or make up a name for them, if there's anyone, round about Goliath's head maybe, or you write that down in big letters, big like Goliath. You've written Stuart, Kirsty, who's that?
Somebody that I met at university who wasn't very nice to me and some of my friends. It didn't make us feel very good about ourselves.
Well, see, most of us have got somebody like that in our lives. How do you deal with them? What ways can you think that you've had to, or that if you met somebody like that you would deal with them? Would you stand up for yourself, maybe? Would you stand up for others? Kirsty said that this was someone in her picture who wasn't very nice to her and wasn't nice to other people either. So stand up to them, or perhaps you don't feel able to do that. How else can you deal with these people? Are you coming up with some ideas? Well, I suppose you might have said that you could tell yourself that they're wrong and that you're in the right. And sometimes that makes you feel better. You try not to let them see that they've upset you, don't you? Because that makes you feel stronger too. You can maintain the high ground. Don't stoop as low as they are. Or you could talk to somebody that you trusted, like your parents or your gran, or some other adult that you know and that you can rely on getting sensible advice from. Maybe you could write some of these ideas round about where you've written their name. And when you've done that, perhaps in a different colour, you could write their name again in small writing. Because you've now got a way of dealing with these people. And look what's happened to the name. Look, it's shrunk. See, they don't look so frightening now, do they? They're not a huge, big, bullying person. They're just a small, ordinary person. Maybe, perhaps, Goliath wasn't 10 foot tall. Maybe he only looked bigger, since people were frightened of him. And now, just to finish, we're going to show you how big Goliath in this picture is. Kirsty, what height are you?
I'm almost 6 foot.
Yeah, no,
I'm 2 inches off 6 foot, yeah.
5'10" Kirsty is, so that's tall. Right, and there's Kirsty's feet, even with Goliath's.
Not even up to his top bicep.
Well, our Goliath was certainly big. But he doesn't look so frightening now, does he? Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you. Have a good day.
Now we're going to finish with a song. Do sing along with us. One more step along the world I go.
One more step along the world I go. One more step along the world I go. From the old things to the new. Keep me travelling along with you. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me travelling along with you. As I travel through the bad and good, keep me travelling the way I should. Where I see no way to go, you'll be telling me the way I know. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me travelling along with you. Give me courage when the world is rough. Keep me loving though the world is tough. Leap and sing in all I do. Keep me travelling along with you. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me travelling along with you.
May the grace of God and the love of Christ and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forever. Amen. Thank you so much for joining with us for this eMessy Church. It has been a great privilege to share this time with you. Next week we will be making a scream box, and you will need a cereal box, one per person, a cardboard tube per person, a kitchen roll tube will suffice, sellotape, paper, scissors, wrapping paper to decorate, PVA glue and glue spreaders. See you next week. God bless. Bye.